Okay, let's go to the phones at 617-830-4750, see what's on people's minds. Let's go first to our caller from the 917 area code, who we last spoke to in, it's been a year actually. 917, what's going on?
Hi, David.
Hi.
I'm calling about the genocide that's going on in Xinjiang, China, against the Turkic peoples, including the Uyghurs.
Yes.
There's a bill that's been in committee since March, called, I think, the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act,
Mm-hmm.
which I believe which would cause corporations that have factories in Xinjiang to prove that their supply chains don't include slave labor from Uyghurs, rather than, in other words, it would put the burden on them. And I just sort of wanted to make kind of a shout out for that legislation. There's been very little pressure that I've seen put on people to make progress on that. And I just think that's really crucial, because right now, sort of we are all probably walking around in clothing, in face masks, in all kinds of things that are made by these, a million people detained. And that's sort of a very pressing human rights issue.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that is an interesting aspect of this that maybe isn't being discussed is when we talk about American relations with China, one of the realities we have to face is that the worse our relationship is with China, the less leverage we have to get them to change their behavior or to make demands or whatever. And so, a lot of the discussion about Trump and China is about, were the tariffs a good or bad idea? Or is the relationship between China and Russia that builds when the U.S. is increasingly on the outs in that group of three countries beneficial or not? But there's this other reality that if Trump cared to do something about what's going on there, we have a lot less leverage when our relationship is bad and when we cut ties. And that's sort of like an ancillary intangible that we have to understand is affected by the relationship the Oval Office has with China.
Can I sort of put another way of looking at that?
Yeah.
This is not an argument. This is sort of a reframing. Is one of the things I think about is when we look back, 10 years from now,
Yes.
and we're saying in the Trump era, the U.S. had a very bad relationship with China. And people are going to ask, well, oh, that makes sense because China was a totalitarian state that was putting a million people in concentration camps and doing medical experimentation and testing vaccines on people. Obviously, you'd have a bad relationship with China. And the answer is, well, no, actually, that really wasn't the issue at all. Actually, we just had a problem with, they were selling soybeans kind of cheap. And I don't want to undercut the importance of that. Right?
Yeah.
But
now, of course, it's
actually,
more
we were
than
just upset that
it's
our
more than
economy
soy.
wasn't the way it was in the 50s.
Yes, and of course it's more complicated than just even the soybean explanation, but you're right that when we look back at it, it may be misremembered. But listen, this is one of the additional reasons why having actual diplomats or people who defer to diplomats still matters in 2020.
Mm-hmm. And having people who prioritize human rights, and care. And I would point just in 1 second, the Biden campaign put out a very good statement the other day. The Trump administration is apparently considering labeling this a genocide, which I think would be an enormous step. Hopefully they do that. The Biden campaign put out a good statement saying, I believe saying, we will do that if we come into office. But I think that's something that we should be putting a lot of pressure on institutions to do right now is to really make some kind of impact on that issue.
All right, not an unreasonable idea. I appreciate the phone call.
Thank you, David.
All right, take care.